Hi friends, and welcome back. We've made it to the next module in this course about prompt engineering with generative AI. I'm still Amber Israelson. Before we dive into how to create effective prompts, let's go over the overall anatomy or components of a prompt. First, we have the persona. If the model is supposed to take on a certain role or perspective, the prompt should indicate that. For example, it could be instructed to respond like a software developer, a scientist, or a novelist. Then we have the instructions. This is the heart of the prompt, the thing that you're asking the model to do. Instructions should be clear and concise, reducing ambiguity as much as possible. And they typically start with an action word, like write, describe, tell, something like that. Next, we have input content. Depending on the task, this could be a piece of text that you want the model to summarize or a question to answer. It could also be an example of desired input. Format, if you have any requirements around the output format, you can specify those here. For example, maybe you want a bullet point list or a comma-separated list of values, or something in the format of a tweet or a formal report. And then additional information, just anything else that can help the model to generate a better response. This could be context around the task, it could be background knowledge, or constraints that the model should adhere to. Now, not all prompts are going to have all of these components, but obviously you need to have at least one, and those will be your instructions. But let's look at an example to make this more clear. As a professional movie critic, please write a review of the movie John Wick Chapter 4 in a concise, compelling manner, focusing on plot, performances, and visual effects. And then for additional information, we say avoid revealing major spoilers. We're going to head out to the OpenAI playground in just a little bit, but let me give you an overview of the UI where you're actually going to enter the prompts. This screen is for the GPT 3.5 Turbo model, which is one of the models that has the option for a system message. This is where you specify the behavior or the persona, like we saw in the last slide, of the assistant or the AI model. So here you would say you're a professional movie critic, or you're a software developer, and so on. And then over on the right is where we put the rest of the prompt in this user section, and then the assistant is the AI. This is where you get your response or your output. Let's go take a quick look at this page. This is at platform.openai.com/playground, and then your mode over here is going to impact what you see on the screen. So chat is where we are now. This is going to give you access to GPT-4 functionality. Right now we're just in 3.5, but when you're in this mode, you're going to get the system window over there on the left. If you change the mode, so let's go into complete, this will give you access to these models here, GPT-3, Text DaVinci. This is what I'm going to use for most of my demos. There's some other ones here that are really optimized more for different tasks like language translation, semantic search, and so on. So several different levers you can pull over here on the right. And then you've also got presets up here where you can load example prompts. So summarize for a second grader, for example, this will give you text here in the body of the prompt, just to show you the format of how you could enter something like that. So that's an overview. Now let's talk about these parameters over here on the right-hand side. I've put this slide in here mostly as a reference for you. We're going to talk a lot more about these as we get into advanced prompting techniques, but just know these are the different knobs that you can turn to control the output of your model. First is the model, like we already talked about, and again, as you switch this, the parameters below will change. Temperature is a common parameter to adjust. This will determine how variable or creative your responses are. The higher the number, the more creativity. Maximum length is the length of the response, and hence also how much you pay. Top P controls the diversity of responses. And then frequency penalty and presence penalty, these control the likelihood of repeating the same line and talking about new topics. And we'll see those in action later in the course. So that was an overview of prompts generally and the different components that they can contain, but then drilling down, there's different kinds of prompts to use depending on what you're trying to accomplish. You should pick the right one for the job, and coming up in the rest of this module, we're going to look at some of those, including factual responses, text summarization, text extraction, text classification, conversation, code generation, and reasoning and math. So let's get started.